People ask us a lot of questions about bourbon. If they're not asking us, what might they be asking?
Google.
Yeah, Google.
#1 search engine in the world, probably.
So, YouTube #2, which is what we're on. So, we decided to pop open the laptop and give it a goog. It's Bourbon Night. Hello, I'm Chad.
I'm Sarah, and this is a little thing we like to call People Also Ask.
All right, let's go to Google. Let's just type in bourbon whiskey egg. First result in the People Also Ask. What's the difference between bourbon and whiskey? Let's see what we get.
The main difference between Scotch and whiskey is geographic. Well, Scotch is a whiskey, so that doesn't really make sense. But also ingredients and spellings. Yes, spelling. That's the difference.
Spelling is the difference. Wait, this one smells like it's spelled differently.
It must be with an E, Chad.
Oh, actually, what'd you put in here? This smells good.
I don't know that I really agree with this. I mean, it's basically getting down to the fact that Scotch is mostly made from malted barley while bourbon is distilled from corn. If I were Google, I would have said all bourbon is whiskey, but not all whiskey is bourbon, and then gone into those other genres.
I agree.
Because this doesn't make that clear.
Let's see what comes up. The next is Jack Daniels a whiskey or a bourbon? Hot button topic.
Oh, that's a great question. Let's see what it says.
Jack Daniels is not a bourbon. It's a Tennessee whiskey. Jack Daniels is dripped slowly, drop by drop, through 10 feet of firmly packed charcoal made from hard sugar maple. Okay, so we're not going to get into it because you can have proponents and
sure.
You can go either way.
We can go either way.
Sure.
But let's point out, Chad, that this is directly from the FAQ section of the Jack Daniels website.
Yes.
That's where this is being pulled from.
But then people will say, well, of course Jack Daniels doesn't want to be a bourbon, so that's what they're gonna say.
Sure. It's like how Louisville fans would say they're not Kentucky fans, they're Louisville fans, even though Louisville's in Kentucky.
Next question, what is the best bourbon whiskey, Sarah? Let's find out. Most popular in best under 100, Koval.
Which is from Chicago.
Journeyman.
Also from the Chicago area.
Did someone from Chicago write this
Who
list?
wrote this?
Four Roses, okay. Blanton's, available with engraving.
No, it's Woodford.
Woodford Reserve.
Just so in case you know it.
That makes it better. Knob Creek.
Bullet,
Michter's US 1 small batch.
Interesting.
Okay.
I mean, I was fully expecting like Pappy to show up, so.
Well. Oh, Sarah, what is the smoothest bourbon?
I don't know, Chad.
Let's see what Google thinks. Bernheim Original 7-year, that's a wheat whiskey.
If the logic is wheated means smoothest, then...
Well, it asked for a bourbon whiskey, and it gave us a wheat whiskey.
Wheat whiskey. Well...
Redemption wheated bourbon, so obviously they're just giving us wheaters. Maker's Mark 46. Oh, there's the Basil Hayden.
Weller, also wheated.
Yeah.
Another Maker's Mark.
Jack Daniels, Gentleman Jack. But Google!
You're contradicting yourself.
You just said it wasn't bourbon. What's going on here, Sarah? I'm scared. Is bourbon sweeter than whiskey? What?
Well, bourbon is whiskey, so...
Well, this is what people ask.
This is what people
Google.
ask it.
They ask.
Sure. For a whiskey to be considered bourbon, the mixture of grains has to be blah, blah, blah. So
That's
the
not
sweetness is basically due to the corn.
Yeah.
So you didn't answer my question. And your question was phrased incorrectly. But it's okay. But let it go.
Is Jim Beam better than Jack Daniels? Let's find out.
It does not give a yes or no answer. It just points out the flavors in each one.
Jim Beam has a brandy flavor.
As if it's mixed with brandy. I'm not sure that I agree with that. Jack Daniels is a whiskey, and although bourbons can be whiskeys, not all are. Thank you. A grain of truth and a grain of truth.
Wait. It says is a whiskey, and although bourbons can be whiskeys, not all are. Yes,
that's
all
backwards.
Bourbons are whiskeys.
Not all whiskeys are bourbons.
Okay, difference between .net. We got you, Dateline. Like, come on in, have a seat, have a cookie. What were you doing here? Difference between .net.
Oh, I like this one. Is a shot of whiskey a day good for you?
Oh God, I hope so. Prevents heart disease. With good cholesterol comes, you guessed it, a healthy heart. The antioxidant boost from whiskey aids in coronary heart disease prevention.
I feel like I should have read this.
Yeah, you should read this.
I should have gone. Anyways, I think it's called phenolic compounds in whiskey are absorbed into the body easier than that of red wine. And everybody says red wine is good for heart health. This is great news from whiskey drinkers.
Good job, whiskey drinker! Sarah, what is the best bourbon under $50?
Well, I don't know.
I hope this just points to our video.
I hope.
Come on.
Fingers crossed.
Oh, it doesn't. All right, so according to them, the best bourbon's under $50. Number 1 is Eagle Rare. Number 2 is Elijah Craig Small Batch. I mean, these are all good. Evan Williams Single Barrel, Four Roses Single Barrel. Four Roses Yellow Label? Henry McKenna Single Barrel. I.W. Harper?
Jim Beam Black.
Jim Beam
Very
Black.
Interesting.
And that's liquor.com.
Here's a good one.
Ooh.
How long does whiskey have to age to be bourbon?
Let's find out.
2 years.
Wrong-o.
False.
We had some lovely partying gifts for him. Sarah, tell them what they're going home with.
Nothing. Absolutely
Nada.
zip. Whiskey can be aged in used barrels and often is. That's also not true. It has to be a new, unused charred oak barrel, and it can be aged for literally 1 second.
Yeah, okay, CNBC, we're calling you out. Well, it does say whiskey can be aged in used barrels.
True,
So whiskey can.
But it says, how long does whiskey have to be aged to be bourbon?
Right.
There's something wrong with that entire question.
Yeah.
You cannot take whiskey that does not have the mash bill to be bourbon, age it, and expect to get bourbon out of it. That's not how it works. It has to go in with the rules in mind, and you cannot, for it to be bourbon, put it in a used barrel. This is I'm so angry.
The next line is correct. Bourbon must be aged for at least 2 years to be considered a straight bourbon.
That's where
Yes.
the misconception is.
But the question didn't ask that. It just said, how long does a whiskey have to be aged to be bourbon? And then they tell you for straight bourbon. That's why people are confused.
That's how you get away with these 36-month-old bourbons, you know?
No.
Is bourbon healthier than whiskey? Again, bourbon is a whiskey. Does whiskey burn fat? Please say yes. Please say yes. Please say yes.
Alcohol can contribute to excess belly fat.
Oh.
What killed Jack Daniels?
Ooh.
That.
Septicemia.
Septicemia?
I don't know.
Septicemia.
Not bourbon.
Not bourbon.
Or whiskey.
Yeah.
Where is bourbon made?
At the bourbon store?
Uh-huh.
Kentucky.
False.
It is. A hell of a lot of it's made
Okay.
in Kentucky.
Most of it is concentrated in Kentucky, but it doesn't have to
Well,
be.
look, I love this part. That means to be called bourbon, it must be made in the U.S., but really, everyone knows that means Kentucky.
It's true. This one says 95% of the world's bourbon is
I think
made in
that's
Kentucky.
a little bit lower now.
Yeah, I think we've gone down a little bit, but we're still
Yeah.
making some of the best stuff.
How long is bourbon aged? Let's give them another chance. Bourbon has no minimum.
Wikipedia.
Good job, Wikipedia.
Good job.
The exception is straight bourbon, which has a minimum aging requirement of 2 years. Boom.
A lot of questions about Jack Daniels either dying or being dead.
Is Jack
This-
Daniels dead?
Very morbid.
What is the best whiskey to drink straight?
Highland Park Whiskey 12-year-old Viking Honor. Can't say I've had it. Number 2, Four Roses Single Barrel. Agreed.
Cool. Pikesville Straight Rye Whiskey.
Yeah.
What is a good cheap whiskey, Sarah? World wants to know.
Evan Williams 1783.
Mellow Corn.
At $12.99 it says. And 2 Evan Williams follow that.
Boom.
1783 is on this list. When should I drink whiskey? Always.
Every day.
Steps. It gives you a list of steps.
Okay, so hold on. Number 1.
You pour your whiskey into a glass. Check.
Check. Number 2.
Try the whiskey neat before adding water or ice. I also like that tip. But these are out of order because step 3 is smell the whiskey 2 or 3 times before tasting it. Well, I've just tasted it because you told me to try it with or without water. Then roll the whiskey around in your mouth before swallowing. That's called a Kentucky Chew. 5, add a splash of water to enhance the flavor. Caveat, if you choose.
Yeah.
6, toss in a chunk of ice if you want a refreshing chill. See, if you want.
If
It's
you
important.
want. That's WikiHow. How do beginners drink whiskey?
With tears in their eyes. No, I'm just kidding.
Why does whiskey make me sick? Sweat, sneeze, cry,
Cry.
tired,
Why
gag, hot, sad.
Why does whiskey make me cry?
Joy? Is it tears of joy?
I just love the order of these. Sick, sweat, sneeze. Why does whiskey make me sneeze? I think you're sticking your nose in too
I
far.
think you have a cold.
Then cry, tired, gag.
Does whiskey cause gas?
Does whiskey cause hangovers? Oh, Googling is fun.
It is.
I think that'll do it.
That will do it. We want to tell you about our home here on the internet is whiskeyambitions.com. That's where you can get t-shirts such as these that we're both wearing, Glencairn's pint glasses, rocks glasses, so much more. at whiskyambitions.com.
Yep, you can become a patron. It's patreon.com/itsbourbonnight and join in our community and conversation and have some special podcasts to listen to every now and then.
There you go. You can click up here to subscribe. There's some other videos on here on the screen that you can click. We'll see you over there in the next video. Thanks, Sarah.
Thanks, Chad.
Okay, until next time, drink more bourbon and then Google it.